There- Mr. Ben, how are you,
Hey,
sir?
good. You made me laugh.
You always make me laugh. Hey, everybody, Ben Smith, James Gardner here, Goliath Foundation. Our Thursday check-in, little conscious males having some conscious conversations, sometimes reflective, sometimes zany, goofy, oddball, nerdy, you name it. That's how we roll. Uh, and we're just gonna wing some stuff today. It's year end, so
Hmm.
here we are, Ben. 1 week, just a little over 1 week removed from Christmas Day, and
Yeah.
hard to believe it's been almost a calendar year, huh?
No, it's
Oh, I
been
know.
it's been like wild, really. To me, it's been so. No, no, it's just every
Do you
year is
think?
so interesting to me.
Yeah, in general though, do you think anybody ever has a year where they're like at this time of the year, they're like, well, Ben, this year really just took a long time. Like it was a really slow year. Think anybody ever says that? Because it seems like we're always playing catch up.
Well, I think people who are depressed would say that.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think people who are depressed and are bogged down, they feel stuck. They would say, "Oh man, that was a long year, a
Oh
long
man, what a
winter, a
year.
long yeah." You know what I mean?
Well, in that case, we've had two of those years back to back. I might add.
Yeah, for some, it
Yeah.
depends,
Really.
right? It depends on your perspective, right?
Well, just the heaviness that's out there in general, right? But there's no heaviness here. So,
No heaviness here.
what what'd you do today in Mexico? What'd you do?
What did I do? I started my day off like I always do, just like super happy. Got up, listened to the wind flowing. Cause I get up so early. I think I was up at like 3:30 or something like that, Mexican time,
You're on
and the wind was
vacation, man.
coming through. I know, but I love it. And it's like it's the wind is so beautiful. And then I went for went to go I had my coffee, feeling the wind, sat by on the deck, watched the stars, went for a nice walk on the beach, swam in the ocean, went for a stretch. Like it was just a beautiful, beautiful morning.
And then the clock turned 6:30.
And yeah, well, that's what Shar said. Just like, God, you're such an idiot. You're like, cause I'll wake her up at like you say, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm all up and cheery, all you know,
I know. That's
ready
good,
to
man.
go.
Hey, well, we always talk inner child work here, right? And the work that we do. Uh, this week, obviously, this time of year, we talk about reflection as part of the work that we do, and how to move past pain. And obviously, with the work we're doing with the young men, this men's group that we're both very privileged to co-facilitate. Obviously, it's been a reflective little time. I mean, I think we're in week 10 of 12 working together with these kids. So, um, and it's reflection for everyone at this time of year. I think it's a natural thing. And you and I were talking a little bit earlier about from an athlete's lens. It's a non-negotiable. I mean, we have to assess and reassess to then move forward. We never make gains without effectively looking at what we did and looked at what worked and what didn't work. So, what comes to mind when you think of 2021, my friend?
Personally, or just generally.
Anything like what comes to mind in that melon of brain of Ben Smith?
To me, it's been like really, really exciting and really fun, and again, like there's a lot of things happen that I didn't really. I wouldn't say yeah, I didn't really particularly set out to do. I was more just in that state of like being like optimistic and upbeat and happy, and just as I always am, and just kind of rolling with things a little bit, and being in that state, as I always say, is the best place to play really in your life, because then you can see opportunities, or you can roll with it, new adventures. And that's kind of how it was for me this year, as it has been for like like several years, quite a few years now. But yeah, it was so interesting for some of these things to have, come into more of an awareness and more kind of grow, like what we're doing with these young men and things like that, to grow more and
Mm.
expand and to be more of a feeling that probably you and I both are getting, of being able to impact people and having it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just all these different things when you're open to it. It's it's really quite amazing. I mean, for me, I've always wanted to be able to express so many of these things I've been thinking about for so many years. And so this last couple of years, and particularly this year, has been like really, really exciting for me to finally um, more pointedly express some of those thoughts and those feelings.
Yeah, excuse me. And I want to get into some of that in terms of Goliath this past year because it's been a pivotal year. But I have a question for you first because I know you walk with happiness. Like you walk hand in hand with happiness every day. There's no
Mm-hmm.
smoke and mirrors with Ben Smith. I mean, you've done the work. You show up every day, like you said. You haven't had a bad day in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, question though, do you, when you reflect, do you have some years that are better than others? Do you actually categorize that way and when you walk hand in hand with happiness? Or is everything just an even playing field? Like everything is as good as it needed to be type of deal?
Well, I don't really think in terms of years so much as I think about pockets of my life, right? So pockets of, so we're kind of going a bit off topic here.
Never.
I go
You
for
never.
me, but for me, because I am such a reflector, I'll think this is how my mind works. There's a pocket where I understood that I'm gonna get what I give. There's that pocket. Oh yeah, and I'll see the little pockets where they were in my journey, right? And
Hmm.
as I go on, I get more clear about it, and I could see I can't remember everything, my whole life, every little thing, but I remember most of it. So I'll think in pockets, and oh, this is where I learned that I can have anything I want if I just stay focused. Oh, and this is the pocket where I learned that faith is, with faith, you never have to be afraid,
Mm.
and so that's how I look at my life, and that's how I don't look so much as this was a good year or this was a bad year. I think, oh, 2 years ago, that's the pocket where I learned that I
Yeah.
never have to be afraid, or this was the pocket, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're if I mean I'm not putting words in your mouth. What's landing for me though, which is interesting and I like is you're looking at years not so much as ranking them, this was better than this year or so and so. It was just this year allotted or allowed this experience or these experiences, and this is where I did this, this, and this, and so forth. I look at my last 2 years, which arguably for me, Ben, have been two very pivotal years, but also two amazing years for me. Uh, and when I first, if you were to ask me that, I would probably say, well, 2020 was the best year that I've had in God knows how long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there were some experiences that happened in that year that were great for my units of happiness, and those things didn't happen this year, but different things happened. So I'm like, now that I'm like, well, I guess it's not that this year wasn't as good as the previous year. It was just a different year. And there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
great things that came of it and so forth. And so I think, it ties into what we always talk about perception. Like how do you perceive something? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I appreciate that insight, Ben. But so circling back though to Goliath, obviously we know this has been a pivotal year for Goliath and the work that
Mm-hmm.
you're doing. Kind of really, you've had a voice for a while, but now your voice is starting to get out there and really start to resonate and do that. So, what do you think of this past year about Goliath Foundation?
I think we've learned so much. I mean, we've learned things on the technical side. We've learned things about how to put the message out there. We've learned, I mean, let's face it, you and I have learned how we work best, like as a team. I mean, it's been so much learning this year, so it's
Mhm.
exciting to take those things that we've learned and move and go forward, right? I mean, right across the board, it's been so fun to learn.
Any,
What's the
has
best way
anything
to do
stuck
this?
out for you, like just in terms of the Goliath Foundation work in particular, right? Has there been anything at all that has really stuck out for you?
As far as learning from what we've
Well,
been
just from
doing.
Goliath, like from the cohorts, from working with me, from doing your podcasting.
Mhm.
Anything in particular?
Well, yes, I would say one thing that's jumped out at me, which I knew before, but man, men really need this work because honestly, I feel like so many men have been dormant in their spiritual and mental health for so long that it's almost like they don't even know how to even go there, and it's
Mhm.
like we need to start taking them there because it's super important. And it feels like there's a whole bunch of men who are barely able to even use training wheels, when there's another faction of man like who is soaring high and is experiencing so much happiness and joy and peace and tranquility in this world, and being whole healthy men and human beings, and that's the boat they want to get on. But it's like so many of them are just like, we're trying to give them training wheels, like you got to get on this train, right? Because you're missing the boat. And
Mm,
how long are you going to miss the boat because of falling into an old, outdated, kind of almost prehistoric paradigm?
absolutely, man. Amen. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like a lot of the work that we're doing right now, it really to me feels like we're giving people training wheels, like guys, there's people blaring down the hill on mountain bikes and blasting around and having so much fun doing all this stuff, but you got to start with the training wheels if you ever want to get there.
Mm. Yeah. My, if I was going to answer that question myself, I mean, my first thought was very similar. It had to do with the men, and this goes back to when we did our first initial test group, where we had a small group of men that we worked with in the springtime,
Mm-hmm.
and it it just it amazes me that men men truly just need space. They
Mm-hmm.
need a safe space. That double S word, we safe space, space holder. I'm here to hold space. It's lingo in the personal development world, and it's lingo that's associated, if you will, with a lot of the speak in the women's world of empowerment and the work that Shar and the ladies do at Powerhouse, right? I mean, that's almost as common as brushing our teeth every day, right? And yet,
Mm-hmm.
what I've seen though, it's like we have our tools in the toolkit, and other practitioners have their tools in the toolkit, and like that first step is just getting men in together and just elite, letting the guard down. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much beauty in that I find it just always comes back to that for me, very powerful. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw it with our guys, some of the men that we worked with in the spring, and you saw the natural progression, right? The first one session, maybe two, it was a little standoffish. These are
Mm-hmm.
grown men, right? And then, by the third session, people are sharing very personal things, and
Mm-hmm.
you and I start to sit back and their conversations start to get, taken by other team members, and it's an amazing dance that happens. And it just goes to
Hmm.
show you, I think, in my viewpoint, is that, you know, it's community, and it's like, just go seek like-minded men, talk. If nothing else, just
Hmm.
go out and you know just go and talk and share what you're
Hmm.
struggling with. There's so much power in that, so much.
There's so much power in it, and like you say, like if we're talking about training wheels, that's kind of the training wheels, because you know you talk, you feel like you can open up a little bit, then you can start doing those little things like some of these guys are doing, like journaling,
Yeah.
and starting to ask yourself real questions, because so many guys never do that. They never ever do that. And like, how are you going to find answers to the questions that you seek from deep within if you never take the time to slow down? And not that you have to journal, but you have to put some thought into it. And I think again, like you echoing what you just said, the fact that you can, guys holding space and taking that time, and even just to prioritizing their mental health and well-being enough to put aside that time every week. Those are big steps. They're training wheels in some ways, but they're huge. They're life.
Mhm.
They have the potential to be life altering, right? So it's
Well, they're the
incredible,
they're
really.
the they're the building blocks, right? They're the ABCs. And I mean, ABCs are, you can call them training wheels if that's your perception of them, but the ABCs will always be there as you build everything else on top of it, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I shouldn't really say training wheels, but I mean, yeah, yeah.
Well,
No,
no, but
you're.
it is. It's just a different way of looking at it, right? Like, you and
Mhm,
I always talk about the basics all the time, in
mhm.
sport, in life. There's a reason why everything comes
Yeah.
back to the basic foundation principles, right?
That's true. I mean, the reality is, I mean, you just said it. We just talked about it. I mean, I have not. Again, I'm a happy guy. I mean, my life is great, but I still do the basics. I
Mm.
still, like I said this morning, I get up, I chill out, I relax, I feel the wind on my skin. I tell myself, I, I appreciate the fact that it's a new day, a new beginning, new possibilities. I take care of my body. I take care of my mind. I go out in nature. These are the ABCs of happiness. Take
Mm.
care of yourself first. Give yourself some time before the rest of the world gets to you. Like, all these things are we're trying to teach these young men. The ABCs of being happy, and then create that force field that so that eventually nothing will get to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, looking forward too is a big thing, and we, we meaning Goliath, are moving forward into 2022, and going to keep doing the work, um, for our youth and for men in general, and just for humanity, because to me it's not a sex label thing. It's human being, and doing what we do. What would you like to see, Ben Smith, for the work that you're doing in the world? What would you like to see happen in not in this coming year? Not that I'm going to hold you firmly accountable. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but like, what comes to mind? What you'd like to see happen?
Personally, or through the work that we're doing.
There's no there's only one Ben Smith. It's in Ben Smith lives as Ben Smith. Smith lives as Goliath, right? It's all the same, right? So
What would I like to see? Well, what I would really like to see is, in all honesty, is enough people to really reflect on and see the truth in the fact that if they can do these foundational pieces that bring more happiness into their mornings, that it will extend into their days, and it will have a very big ripple effect in their whole life, and then they'll start to see how magic starts to happen, where
mm,
like, I got a call that I never expected. I got an opportunity I never expected. I got a chunk of money I didn't expect. And you start to see that all things are possible when you're in the state of mind and that energetic place where you're able to kind of pick onto it. Just like kind of like an angry person, an angry depressed person often can't see the sun, even when it's just behind a tiny little cloud that's blocking just a sliver of it. Their head is down or whatever, or maybe it's bright and they still there's a cloud over their head. But all of a sudden they get happy and they realize, oh, there's sun and there's opportunity and this and that. So for me to answer that question, I'm always going to be long-winded, so just get over it. But to answer, but to answer that question, trying to be succinct, is I would like to see people do like what I have done, where you start to realize, you start to really make that correlation between I do the work, I do the ABCs, it puts me in a state of happiness, and in that state of happiness, great things come to me with like little or no effort. And it just is the way the world works.
It's almost like it's the way I felt like that was a song, like "We Are the World." It's the way the world works.
But to me, I mean, not everybody is going to agree with me, but to me, it's so obvious. It's so obviously, and it's so true. But again, the ABCs and the training wheels or whatever are just to do the work, start to do the work enough to recognize that, you know what, I actually can make choices where I can be happy, and I could focus in better ways, and then start to really see how it's starting to kind of like really branch out, and like, oh, I'm meeting more people, getting more opportunities, I'm making more money, I'm doing
Yep,
this, I'm doing that.
100%, 100%, my friend. What would be a great word for us to end on? What? All right, here you go. Ben Smith, 2 questions. Number one word and one word only. What comes to mind if you were to label 2021 for you?
Opportunity.
Beautiful. What's the intention? What's a word that comes to you for 2022?
Manifestation.
Nice. There it is. Opportunity, manifestation.
How about you?
What do we got?
How about
What do
you?
we got? A big cuckoo clock behind you? I keep hearing all these chimes. What's going on back there? Seriously, what's going on over there?
Just a sec. I'll take care of that. I got it, Paul. So you
Uh,
answer that question.
um, possibility for 2021, possibility, and 2022 is definitely adventure for me. Adventure,
Nice,
yeah,
nice. You
big
know,
time.
you know what's so interesting? I got to say. So for me, it was opportunity. For you, it was possibility. For the last past year, like, so isn't that interesting? Because so many people would have said, like something so far down the line of like depression or whatever, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah,
And yet,
challenging.
challenge, struggle, whatever. So it's just, again, life is all how you look at it, right?
Yeah, totally, man,
So
totally.
yeah.
And that's the important thing to tie it all back in is we have to look at it, which is being reflective. It's part of our nature as human beings. We're kind of reflective creatures. Be reflective, and then fuse that into your forward vision on what it is you want to now create for your life. So, and as Ben always says, the fountain of youth lies within. Right? It's not some mythical destination out there in the Netherlands. It's inside. Happiness is an inside job. Right, Ben?
Happiness is, but I never once said the fountain of youth. As Ben Smith always says, never once.
Never once.
I do never once, but I do say happiness is an inside job,
I know.
but never once, not once.
All right. So maybe that was me paraphrasing what we talk about and just trying to make it sound romantic. So sue me.
Oh, you're such a romantic, James. Oh,
Yes,
look
I
at me
am.
batting my eyes.
Such a clown. I'm done with you. I'm done with you, Smith.
You're
All right,
done.
man.
You're done.
You're done. Safe travels back next week. Enjoy your last week down in Mexico, okay?
Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that jazz and everything in between. All right. Peace.
Peace.